My name is Keshinro. My problems started when I was a child, when I was very, very young. For as long as I can remember, I was always very unhappy. I used to cry a lot. And as I got older, I was a very sad child, and I just never had any desire to be alive. I remember as a child praying and asking God to remove me, that just to let me not wake up in the morning. And as I got older, I became very depressed. I was very angry, I was very bitter, I was full of grudges. I was very angry about my life. I always felt very unwanted, unloved. I was like the black sheep in the family. But when I realised the root of the problem was inside of me, I really needed to get help. And I went everywhere looking for help. I went to the mosque, I went to the Hindu temple. I even went to India to do a special prayer. I went everywhere looking for help. And eventually I received a newspaper and I came to the church. And when I got there, I realised that I have to work within myself, because the problem is within me. It's not the people around me. It's not because of them that I'm so unhappy. It's not because of them that I rebelled. It's because there was obviously a lot going on inside of me, even from early childhood, that needed to be dealt with. So gradually I began to deal with the root. And when I began to deal with the root, I became a different person. And when I realised that God was there and He was there for me, and that He was the only one that could really help me, that I was relying on people, but people all had their own problems and they couldn't help me. I needed to look at the one person that could really help me. And that's when my life started to change, and that's when I began to uproot the problem that had been with me for so long. And that's when I began to have the desire to be alive, to have a life, to get on and to progress and to do things with my life. And today my life is completely different. It's just completely different from what it was all those years when I was agonising, when I didn't want to be alive, when I was really depressed, when I was rebelling and doing everything wrong. Today my life's not like that. Today I've got hope for the future, I can achieve things. I'm just completely different. I'm a completely different person today.
Hello, a very good evening and welcome to Finding Answers. Why do people, when they are faced with certain problems, why do they choose to self-harm? Or do they self-harm because they are facing a problem? The reason why, if someone, or the reason behind that action of trying to cut yourself or to do whatever it is that the person does when they are self-harming, there must be a reason behind that. Why do people do that? We're talking about this tonight, and in fact, we'll be introducing to you two people that are here with us who struggled with the same problem and they've overcome it. But you're going to find out why they did that. And if you are struggling with this, if you know someone who is, then stay tuned, because you're going to learn how you can overcome this. First of all, here's a video that Victoria prepared on the subject of self-harming. Have a look.
Self-harm is the deliberate infliction of damage to your own body, which can include cutting, burning, causing deliberate bruising, pulling hair and picking skin, and even as an attempt at suicide. It's the physical act of hurting yourself which helps people deal with overwhelming emotional and psychological issues. It occurs during times of anger, distress, fear, emotional worry, depression, or low self-esteem, in order to manage negative feelings that cannot be dealt with in a rational or logical way by the self-harmer. Alternatively, self-harm can be used as a form of self-punishment for something that the self-harmer has done, thinks they've done, or that they have allowed to be done to themselves. It's very difficult to say how many people are self-harming, because very few tell anyone what's going on. But it is thought that around 10% of young people may try to hurt themselves on purpose at some point, but this figure could be a lot higher. Social factors that could cause people to self-harm include difficult relationships, difficulties at school or work, being bullied at either home, school or work, worries about money, alcohol or drug misuse, coming to terms with your sexuality, or coping with cultural expectations. However, self-harm could also be a way of coping with a traumatic experience, such as abuse, the death of someone close, or having a miscarriage. There may also be psychological causes of self-harm. such as hearing voices telling you to self-harm, hearing repeated thoughts about self-harming and feeling like you have to do it. You may also dissociate, which means losing touch with yourself and your surroundings, and people may even harm without realizing it. So, as you can see, self-harm is a very complex issue that could have a range of causes. But it is possible for all sufferers to learn to live without needing to self-harm. But for some, it can be a long and difficult journey back to good health. The longer someone harms, the harder it can be to break the pattern of behaviour. But with the right support, understanding and motivation to get better, it is possible to recover. So, if you self-harm or you think you know someone who is, get in touch with an expert, someone who can help you to diagnose your problem. If you would like to talk to one of our advisors, then call Finding Answers on 020 7686 6300 or send us an email at help@findinganswers.tv. Alternatively, if you'd like to talk to us via social media, then send us a tweet. Just start your tweet with @FindAnswersTV or search for Finding Answers on Facebook.
Now, one of the things there that we are not sure is that there are 10% of young people who struggle with that, because it's something that people don't really talk about, so it's very difficult to find out if it is 10% of people who are indeed struggling with that. The thing is, even if it is 10% of youth that are struggling with self-harming, it is 10% too many. Do you agree with me, Victoria?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that number could be an awful lot higher, because it's quite unlikely that all young people will speak out or tell somebody that they are self-harming. But obviously, yeah, that number is far too high.
And the thing is, there is a reason behind that, like we were saying earlier. You know, sometimes people do that to punish themselves, even though punishing yourself doesn't really solve anything. Sometimes it's because something happened to you and you're angry about it. And the truth is that it can be a very lonely thing. People tend to live, to suffer in silence with a problem like that, because nobody usually goes out and says, listen, I'm cutting myself, I'm burning myself. It's something people do by themselves. And anything that you do or that you carry on your shoulders by yourself is extremely difficult to deal with. So the moment you talk to someone, you're already halfway into getting the problem solved, right? And finding the support in talking to someone is important, but also dealing with the root of the problem is extremely important, right? Sometimes you may say, well, it's because I don't feel confident, it's because I don't feel that I can be this person that I want to be, so I do that. It's a coping mechanism. And do you agree with me that for some people it's like a coping mechanism to deal with certain things that have happened to them?
Yeah, because the main reason that people self-harm is a form of what they call a release. So there's this overwhelming anxiety or anger or embarrassment, and the way that people find to release this is to cut themselves, so that it sort of takes away the embarrassment or the fear or the anxiety, because then you're focused on the pain. But it also can be a communication. People can do it to get help. So people might take maybe an overdose, for example, so that they know that somebody will come to their rescue.
Yeah, and if you say, look, I've done everything, I have this problem, I have someone in my family that has this problem, and I don't know how to help this person. I don't know how to help myself. I need help. And the truth is, sometimes it's very complicated to know why someone does that. I mean, sometimes you try to understand why and you don't understand. Sometimes you try to understand why you do something like this, why you would hurt yourself, why you would make decisions that end up hurting you, and you don't know why. Let me be very honest with you. I do believe that there are some things that happen in life that trigger reactions in the person to go and do this. But very often, there is a spiritual root to the problem. We have seen in our services people who struggle with depression, people who struggle with self-harming, with problems like this. that upon the strong prayer being made, the person is set free. And from there, they start their journey of freedom. And maybe you say, James, I have tried, to train myself not to do this. I've tried positive affirmation. I've tried to surround myself with positive people. And it helps for a while, and then I go back to it. I don't know what to do with this anymore. Perhaps you don't have any proof that your son or your daughter is doing something like this, but you're afraid that this is happening. Maybe you know that something's not right, and you want to help them, but you just don't know how. Then I want to encourage you right now for you to take the next few moments, for you to talk to our pastors who are ready right now to pray for you, to pray for your family. Maybe it's not you. Maybe you say, James, something's wrong in my child's life. Something's wrong in my family. I just don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on what it is. But moms know their children, right? Parents know their children. They're supposed to know. So you know when something's wrong. You just don't know what it is. Then maybe you can send the name of your child, your partner, your whoever in your family is that needs prayer. And tonight we are going to be mentioning the names of the people that call or that email, right? We're going to mention the names so that God can touch that person wherever they are. So if you want to get in contact with us, the number is 020-7686-6300, or send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. And actually, if you want to send us a message on Facebook, can people send private messages on Facebook?
I think they can.
They can, right?
Yes.
So you can select our, Finding Answers there on Facebook. You'll see that we're live, and you can send a message to us, and we can even take the name from there. Can they do that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please do. So just search for Finding Answers on the Facebook and you'll find us there.
Yeah, so if you want to leave a message, the name of your family member there as a message to us, we'll be reading it out later here in the program. And after the break, I'm going to introduce you to someone who used to struggle with self-harming really badly. I mean, you will be shocked to hear that this person has attempted suicide more than 5-6 times. You'll be shocked to hear that, but you'll hear her story. And also someone else here that because of a rape, she lost the will to live. But both of them have now become different people. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
They say that home is where the heart is, a place that should be filled with joy, security, happiness, and memories. However, sometimes our own blood is the cause of most of our pain. Before you lose hope, try this. Every Thursday, come and pray for your family and receive the guidance and support that could help you all reconnect again. After all, no amount of success can compensate for a broken family.
Welcome back. Now, next week, Wednesday, we're going to do something very, very special here in the program. Here's what we're going to do.
If you or someone in your family is ill, or you feel that your financial life is sick and your life isn't moving forward, join us on Wednesday the 5th, when we'll be blessing the bread and the water on the program so you can eat and drink of it in faith. Because the Word of God says, "So you shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you."
So next week, Wednesday, don't just have a glass of water ready. Make sure you have a bottle of water and a loaf of bread with you, any bread. And we're going to bless it so that you can have it together with your family. And that verse you just saw there will be fulfilled in your family. God will be removing the sickness, the infirmity, the problems that are there inside of your house. I want to, just before I introduce you to our guests, I want to just talk a few more minutes with Victoria to try to get into the minds of people who do that. I mean, I imagine the majority of them don't let anybody know what they're doing because they probably feel embarrassed. What would be the signs for a family member to look out in someone who is self-harming, you think?
So people who start to self-harm start becoming very conscious of their body. So they will tend to dress with big jumpers. They'll always cover their arms. They'll have lots of clothes on. And they become withdrawn. They may become slightly angry or very antisocial and spend an awful lot more time in their bedroom, for example.
We're going to find out if that's the case with our guests. Let's meet them right now.
Pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
So I want to introduce Denise and Toya, who are here with me. Good evening, girls. How are you?
Good evening.
You okay? Yeah. We're going to start with you, Denise. You have a wonderful smile.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's true. And you weren't always like that?
No. Well, with me, I was a smiley person, but it was an image. I would create this image that I was a very happy person when inside I was crying out for help.
Now, Victoria was saying just a few moments ago that people who self-harm, they usually wear, big jumpers and they spend a lot of time in their room and so on, become very self-conscious about their body. Is that what happened to you?
Yes, exactly that. I remember with me, I used to wear, as exactly what she mentioned, baggy clothes. I used to stay in my room. So I would come home and go straight into my room and I would stay there because if I came out, there was a chance of exposure that of the cuts, of the bruises, of the things that I didn't want anyone to see. So I used to cover my body. I never really used to show much flesh because I didn't want people to realize what I was doing because I didn't want people to realize what I was doing because I thought people would judge me. People would think I was stupid, that no one would kind of understand why I was doing what I was doing.
Let me ask you something. How many times in total do you think you tried to commit suicide?
Slitting my hands, my wrists, my stomach. I can't remember the amount of times. That's how regular I used to do it. I remember overdosing myself with tablets was about 2-3 times, and also trying to hang myself was also 2-3 times that I tried to do that.
So if we put the slitting of the wrists to the side, which is very serious, and we just concentrate on the other two, let's say you tried to commit suicide maybe 6 times.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to the beginning. What happened? Why did you start self-harming?
Okay, for me, it started in my home. The fact I grew up without a father, and I grew up with a mother that she had me at a very young age, and she suffered from really bad depression. So that already put me in a place where I was in an environment where there wasn't love. I didn't have that figure to love me. And I remember I was in school. I didn't feel like I was much bigger than the other kids. I was going through puberty. So I didn't feel as pretty, as beautiful as the other girls. And for me, that was a big thing because I used to go to school and I used to get bullied. People used to call me names, talk about my weight, talk about my skin complexion. And these things used to really put me down as a person. I didn't love myself at all.
So when you would self-harm, what was the thought process behind that? I mean, would you do that because you were angry at people, or because you were angry at yourself, or you didn't like yourself? What was the reason?
For me, it was I hated myself. I didn't love myself. So I found that as a way of just, you know, just damaging already what's damaged. Because I saw myself as damaged good. I didn't see myself as beautiful, as pretty as anything.
Do you remember the first time you self-harmed?
Yes. I remember I was actually really upset because my mum had another episode of being very depressed. And I remember going into the kitchen, and I was washing the dishes, and I was very emotional. And I remember a knife cut me. And I loved the way it felt being cut. I can't describe it, but it felt like a bit of a relief. So I remember I got the knife, and although the first time I was doing it, it hurt, the sensation I was feeling, it felt good. If in a horrible way, it felt really nice. It felt really good. And then I remember, after feeling that way, I felt afterwards, I felt the pain of the fact I had cuts, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. And for me, slitting my hands then wasn't enough. I wanted to try now my stomach. I wanted to try somewhere where, okay, I want to actually damage myself. So I would try my stomach, and I would slit my stomach. And I wouldn't slit to just see flesh. I would slit so that there was blood. I wanted to see blood.
Now, tell me something. This became a regular thing, and then you said you tried. You took an overdose of tablets for, you did like 2 or 3 times. Did you end up in hospital because of that?
No, and I was almost at the point of that. I would collapse, but I would collapse in an environment. I would always collapse in a home environment. So I would wake up, and my mum would think that, oh, she's maybe just really lazy, or she wouldn't understand that I've actually overdosed. I'm in my room for a long period of time because I'm not physically here.
Why did you do that? I mean, were you really trying to kill yourself, or were you trying to get someone to notice that you weren't well, that something was wrong?
For the overdosing, it was a cry out for help.
Right. So you weren't really trying to kill yourself?
No. With the slitting of wrists and with trying to hang myself, yes.
So tell us about the time you tried to hang yourself.
What I used to do, you'll notice with a lot of people that are suicidal, that self-harm, is sometimes they write notes, they leave signs. And what I used to do is I used to have a diary of my suicidal notes, my suicidal days. I would keep a journal. And I remember the days that I would, the 2 times that I would attempt suicide was when everything was going so wrong. So at school, I had the worst day ever. And when I came home, it was like full blown, just so depressed, so low. So I would slit, before I would go and hang myself, I would self-harm.
Cut yourself first.
I would cut myself first. But it got to a point where that wasn't enough.
So when you tried to hang yourself, why didn't it work? You didn't do it properly, or?
I didn't do it properly because I would get the wire, I would get a ladder, I would have my suicidal note ready, and every time that I would go to do it, something would happen. Either the rope wasn't strong enough.
It would break.
It would break.
So you actually jumped.
I actually went in for it, and it would just.
Right.
And the last time that I did it, right before, because I had the wire on my neck, for some reason in my mind it came, I forgot to do something. So I ran. And when I ran, that's when my mum realized, why do I have...
And did she understand what you were about to do?
She didn't understand until I screamed at her and actually said exactly what I was going to do.
Right. So I want to stop you there. And I'm going to go to Toya in just a second. But I want to ask you something without you telling us how you changed your life. For example, right now, things are very different for you.
Yes.
You don't want to die. Looking back, do you feel angry at the fact that you would have missed out on how your life is now and all the prospects for the future you have now? Do you think it was a mistake what you were doing at that time?
Yes, a big one. And for me, I didn't see a way out. At that moment of time when I used to self-harm, when I was trying to commit suicide, I didn't see a way out. In my mind, I wasn't thinking about the future. In my mind, I didn't see a future. It was like my problems were so big at that moment. The way my lifestyle was so big at that moment. I didn't see anything great ever happening to me. I didn't believe in anything great happening to me. I just felt that I was unloved, I was unwanted, there was no point of me living.
So that was the reason why you were doing all these things?
Exactly.
The root of you doing all these things is that no one wanted you, no one loved you?
Yes.
Okay. So let me stop you there. Let's go to Toya. How are you, Toya?
I'm fine, thank you.
What's your story? I said earlier, I mentioned a little bit about your story, but tell me what happened to you.
When I was 15, I was in a relationship, and it was a very unhealthy relationship. The relationship was, at the beginning, very good, very nice, and it was an escapism from my problems that I had at home. So I had many family problems with my mum, so I grew up with, also like Denise, without a dad. So I had struggles within my family, feeling unloved, feeling unwanted, and when I had my boyfriend, I was in that relationship, I had that love, I had everything, so I had full trust in him. He was literally my everything, my world. But as time got by in the relationships, things went from bad to worse. He started treating me unfairly. He started verbally abusing me. And I saw the signs, but it wasn't that obvious for me to be like, okay, I need to run away from this relationship. And then the day he raped me was the day where things went from bad to worse, and I just went completely wild and crazy in my mind. Like, I didn't have any sense of hope for the future after that. So the day
sorry to continue, did you report that to the police, or did you tell anyone?
I didn't tell anyone.
You didn't tell anyone?
I didn't tell anyone. It wasn't until I came to the church when
Why didn't you tell anyone?
I didn't believe that anyone would believe me, because rape is such a touchy subject, and it's something that many people do go through, but yet they don't speak about it.
Okay, stop right there. I want to ask Victoria why that is. If we can get a camera down, Victoria, why is it that most women who are, not most women, but a lot of women who are raped don't go to the police, don't go to anyone, because they're afraid no one will believe them?
Well, mainly because sometimes women will be in a situation whereby it might be quite an intimate situation, and they obviously make a conscious decision to say no, but a man will then decide that what they're saying is wrong, or they might be drunk. So women always, tend to think, they question themselves, did I lead him on? Did I not say no loud enough? And they always feel like it's not a clean cut, that was rape, that wasn't rape. And often rape does occur, and it's date rape. So women have gone out with men and then they rape them, and then they sort of question, was that rape or was it my fault? And I think most of us have heard stories whereby women have reported rape and that they're not believed by the police.
And that's why, is that where women get the feeling of guilt, of shame?
Absolutely, yeah. People feel certainly shame from it, because it's such a disturbing thing to happen to you, to be exploited in all the ways that you don't want to be exploited by somebody. So yeah, people will feel very guilty and extremely shameful.
Okay, so going back to you, is that the reason why you didn't tell anyone? You felt people wouldn't believe you?
Exactly that. I did feel a lot of shame. Like, there was a lot of blame on myself as well.
Why were you blaming yourself?
Because I kind of felt like, there were times where I felt like I could have done more, I could have screamed loud enough, I could have said no, but I knew at that moment in time there was nothing else I could have done. I had no control of what was happening to me in that moment.
Did anyone notice that you had changed as a person after that?
Yes, my mum noticed quite well, because I was also starving myself. And while I was starving myself, my mum picked up the signs. She saw that I wasn't eating around the table anymore, I wasn't eating with the family anymore. I would take food into my room and I would stuff it into the bin, and I'll take the plate downstairs, seeing that I've eaten and everything. And my mum kind of saw the food, she saw the bins of food in my room, and she questioned it. She was like, what's going on? I became very antisocial. At home, I kept myself to myself. I did not want to speak to anyone, socialise with anyone. And then I had this whole big identity thing where I wanted to change myself inside and out. So I began to shave my hair, and no one understood why. Like, I looked like, literally one day I was fine, the next day I came into school, I looked completely different. I didn't want to be myself anymore. I didn't love myself anymore, and I was just full of complexes.
Right, so again, you became this completely different person on the outside, but the root behind that was what had happened to you, and that you couldn't expose that and tell anyone what happened to you, so you had to deal with that by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like we were saying at the beginning of the program, that dealing with the problem by yourself is one of the worst things that can happen to anyone, right? You know, they usually say that a problem shared is a problem halved. Is that how it goes? Yes. A problem shared is a problem halved. Why? Because the moment you say, look, I have this problem, I need help, then that's two heads thinking about a solution. It becomes better. But when you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, you feel alone. You feel like no one knows what you're going through. And that's what you cannot allow to happen to you. I'm talking to you who are watching me now. You that perhaps you identify with the story of these two amazing, courageous young women who are here telling us their story. Because, Toya, you have a lot of courage talking about that. A lot of women never even come forward. And if they do, they want to hide their identity. So you being here in front of the camera and people being able to see you and knowing what you went through, it takes a lot of courage. And you also, Denise. So maybe you say, well, I feel very much the pain that these women have gone through, but it's like I'm going through it now because I don't know how to deal with this. And perhaps even the people who are on the phone, they can't give you all the answers because, you know, it's not the kind of thing you say, look, I've been raped, what can you do for me? It doesn't work like that. You need a support system, you need the strong prayers, you need the support, the advice that goes with all the work that we offer. But that phone call can be the first step, can be you saying, look, I need to talk to someone. Who can I talk to? When can I come and see someone? Please help me. That first step is very, very important. So I want to invite you for you to give us a call now, or you can send us an email now during the break, or even during any point during this program, and we'll be in contact with you to try to book a time for you to come in and see one of the pastors, the people who can help you to overcome this. The telephone number is 020-7686-6300. That's 020-7686-6300, or help@findinganswers.tv. We're going to go into a short break now. When we come back, Toya and Denise will be telling us how their lives changed, how they have become these unrecognizable women if you were to know who they were before. We'll be right back.
If you value yourself, it's like when you have a diamond or some very precious stone. You don't wear it every day. You don't leave it, hanging around in the house. You don't even lend it to people. You hide it because it's valuable. So much more, you are valuable. You woman, if you want a man to value you, you need to value yourself first. You need to be the first one to say no. You want me? Then, work for it. Marry me. You want to have all of me? I can give you all of me, but you have to marry me first.
The Bible contains the mind of God, the state of man, the way of salvation, the doom of sinners, and the happiness of believers. Its doctrines are holy, its precepts are binding, its stories are true, and its decisions are immutable. Read it to be wise, believe it to be safe, and practice it to be holy. It contains light to direct you, food to support you, and comfort to cheer you. It is the traveler's map, the pilgrim's staff, the pilot's compass, the soldier's sword, and the Christian's charter. Here, paradise is restored, heaven opened, and the gates of hell disclosed. Christ is its grand subject, our good the design, and the glory of God its end. It should fill the memory, rule the heart, and guide the feet. Read it slowly, frequently, and prayerfully. It is a mine of wealth, health to the soul, and a river of pleasure. It involves the highest responsibility, will reward the greatest labor, and will condemn all who trifle with its sacred contents. Pray it in, read it through, live it out, and pass it on.
Welcome back. So we were talking to Toya just a few moments ago. She was telling us about her experience of rape and how she changed after that in a negative sense, and no one knew what she had gone through. Was it difficult for you to hide that from everyone?
Yes, it was. It was difficult. I had to completely lose my identity that I was before. I kind of was like that good girl that went bad afterwards. I had to put on this image that everything was okay, everything was fine, that my life was okay, when deep down I was heartbroken. Deep down I was destroyed, and I wanted to speak to someone about it, but I just couldn't find anyone or anyone to speak to about it.
So you wanted to talk to someone?
I did want to speak to someone.
Was it lack of courage, or was it that you didn't have the right person to talk to? What was it?
It was everything from courage to fear to people not believing me, to people not understanding. I didn't want people to pity me either. That was one thing. That was another thing that was really had on my shoulders. I didn't want people looking down on me, thinking, oh, that girl's been raped. Oh, now she's some rape victim. I didn't want that.
How did you come to the church? How did you find out about the church?
I was invited by a friend. I was first invited to the youth group, and then I came to a service meeting.
How long after coming to the church did it take for you to open up about what had happened to you, and how did that help you in recovering from the trauma?
It took about 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months me coming.
And do you think that talking about it to someone helped you to overcome that?
It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. A really heavy weight just lifted off my shoulders when I had someone who was listening to me, who wasn't looking at me with sympathy but wanted to help me, had desire to get me out the hole that I was in, because I was literally stuck. I was unable to move forward with my life.
And a lot of people will say, Toya, but how can she say that she felt a weight lifted off her just by talking about it? Because if you tell someone what happens to you, it doesn't make the event that happened to you go away. It doesn't make it disappear. It doesn't, but it helps you understand, and it helps you know that you are not, you don't have to become a victim for the rest of your life to that event that happened to you. And what I want people to understand is this, and this is very important for both of you to talk about it. That's why you're here. I want people to understand that it's not just talking about something that makes things better, because you can talk to anyone. What makes a difference is the power of God going inside of you, the strong prayers that are done to go inside of you and remove that lack of confidence, that hurt, that pain. Is that what helped you?
Yeah.
I mean, what was it that helped you?
That definitely helped me. Prayers that I received at the church was definitely helped me, and me identifying what was wrong with me, what I wanted to change. Like, I came to the meetings with a purpose. I came with something in mind, things that I wanted to tackle with. I didn't come to the meetings just empty-headed, but I came with a purpose. Like I wanted to tackle with the grudges that I had in my heart, the hatred that I had, and unforgiveness, because that was the biggest thing for me, to able to forgive the person who hurt me, and also forgive myself and able to move on and be free with my life.
How are you today, Toya?
I'm free, happy, and within peace with myself. Like my past no longer torments me. Yes, it's happened to me, but it's not longer my future. It's now me deciding what I want to do for the rest of my life and having great hope for the future.
And you have great hope for the future?
Yeah, I have great hope for the future. I have a vision, I have everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Denise? I mean, how did you overcome, I mean, you tried suicide, you attempted suicide 6 times, you used to cut yourself all the time. How did you find out about the church?
I was actually just walking with my friends, and someone handed me a leaflet and invited me to an event that was happening, and I decided to come. And when I came, I didn't change straight away, and I didn't actually open up about the things that I used to do straight away. But the more I started to come, is the more I started to see people that actually cared. And this is something I never saw anywhere. And it gave me great confidence to actually speak to someone. And when I spoke, it was like a weight was lifted. It was like things that I never spoke, because when I was self-harming, I never told anyone. I never told a soul. I never told my friends. My mum knew, because she had found me almost trying to hang myself, but I never spoke to anyone else. No one knew when I was self-harming, overdosing. So when I came, I really had to kind of, not saying put myself out there, but I saw it was something that was deep inside of myself that I'd never spoken to anyone about, and I needed to, because I needed to be free from it. I needed to be free from the hurt, from the pain that I was feeling, from the things that I used to do that affected me in my past.
How long did it take you to be free from that?
For me, she said 6 months. For me, it took me 2 years before I spoke about it. So it took me 2 years of bottling up things that were inside, until the point where I said, no, I have to speak. Some people, when they come to an environment, they feel like they can open up straight away. But for me, I felt like I'd been through so much that it took me a lot to open up. It really did. But when I did, it was so nice to know that I was in an environment where I did receive help. I came to the meetings. I received, as you mentioned, the strong prayers, these things, and they helped me. They really did benefit me in a positive way.
Did you ever do a chain of prayer?
Yes, I did.
Did you do a chain of prayer? And I'm asking you because most people who come here on this program talk about the chain of prayer. And the chain of prayer is when you take 1 day a week or 2 days a week for a specific purpose, and you come for 7 consecutive weeks to the church. And in those 7 consecutive weeks, you're doing like a spiritual treatment where you learn to fight back against your problems, where you learn to stand up and not accept problems as they are part of your life and do something about it. And that is the first step usually in faith when people come to the church. And did that help you?
Yes, it did. It did. And what was nice about the steps that I was taking is I had that support. There was always someone there saying, don't give up, use your faith. You have that power inside of you to change your situation.
How long have you been free from these desires to self-harm?
I have been free now for over 2 years.
Over 2 years?
Over 2 years.
And you don't want to self-harm anymore?
I don't want to self-harm anymore. I totally love myself. I got down to the root of why I used to self-harm. And because I got to the root and I was able to uproot it, now I'm able to I was able to move forward. I was able to literally love myself, smile with a genuine smile. And I don't have those thoughts to self-harm anymore, to kill myself. I want to live. I want to live for a very long time.
So what's the plan for the future for Denise?
For me, I want to finish university. I work as well full-time. And for me, things are looking up. Things are looking up. And I'm very excited for the future.
That's great. So guys, I want to thank you for your courage for coming here to talk about things that are very personal, that very few people choose to talk about. So thank you for that. And I think the key thing, I didn't ask them to speak about the point where they said, well, when I spoke to someone, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. But it just so happened that you chose to speak about that. And that's important because it's like we said at the beginning of the program. You cannot think that you can live through a problem by yourself and think you have better chances of overcoming it by yourself. It doesn't work like that, you know? When you have a team behind you, when you have people who support you, when you have people that are not paid to support you, this is important. And you touched on this. You said that the people that genuinely cared, you know, the people that didn't get paid to tell you you were going to be okay, or to say, you know, you're a great person. The people who were there were people who had been through things similar to yours, and now they wanted to help. And I'm sure, we were even talking here during the break, that a few Sundays ago you had an event there in the church for youth, that you had like something like 350 youth.
Yes.
And now you guys naturally want to help these youth.
Yes.
Is that what happens now?
Yes, exactly the way we were helped. We want to help those.
And how much do you get paid for that?
Nothing.
Come
and
on.
it's
Come
priceless.
on. Come
what
on.
we do.
Come on. Tell us the truth.
We don't get paid a dime, but the energy, the passion that we have for the people that we help is priceless. It's priceless.
And seeing those youths come out of the situations that we've also been through.
So you said you used to shave your hair and all this kind of thing. So when you see someone come through the doors of the church for the first time, and you see a person, you know, not that there's anything wrong with you shaving your hair. You can have your hair the way you want, right? If you have hair, great, right? If you don't have, then whether you shave it or you put a little bit of cream doesn't really matter. But when you see someone come through the doors of the church and you see the person's going through problems, and you know you've been there, so you know exactly what the person's going through, right?
Yeah, you can tell. You can even tell by just looking through their eyes.
Yeah.
You can tell when someone's going through a lot and when they've got a lot on their shoulders.
That's great. So it's up to you if you continue struggling by yourself. You don't have to suffer on your own. It's entirely, completely down to you. We'll see you right after the break. Welcome back. Please, Jacardo, don't cut my head. Thank you. The camera was cutting my head a little bit. Now, here's the important thing. Out of everything you heard here tonight and these stories and the program, Finding Answers, is about the stories that are here. It's not about us as presenters, because without these stories, there would be no Finding Answers. They found the answer to their problems. Denise and Toya, they found these answers. And you can as well. And sometimes what's amazing is that the answer is staring you right in the face. But you don't want to listen to it. You have this prejudice about the things of God. You have this prejudice about the things of faith. And you ignore it. But sometimes it's staring you dead square in the eyes. Do you agree with me, Michael?
I do. The answer is right here, there in front of you, like this program. But sometimes people are a bit proud, maybe a bit stubborn, maybe they're unsure. And, you know, maybe you've taken big risks in the past, doing crazy, silly things. And maybe you've hurt yourself in the past. But, you know, there's no harm here. We're actually giving some positive advice so that you can get the help that you need.
And it's like we were saying, sometimes You know, the person knows what we're saying makes sense. They think maybe this could work, but the prejudice or, you know, this thing of God, church, it doesn't work. You know, that sort of idea puts a barrier between the person and the solution to their problem. Sometimes you just have to give it a go. You cannot keep saying, you know, this doesn't work. But what if it might? What do you have to lose? You have to ask yourself, what do I have to lose? I've tried medication. I've tried this. I've tried everything. Then what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I remember there was a man who came to a prophet, and he was expecting the prophet to do something amazing for him to be healed, wave his hands in the air, fireworks. But the prophet just said, listen, go down to the river and bathe yourself 7 times. And he thought, come on, I came all the way from halfway across the globe and you tell me to go in and wash in this dirty river. It can't be that simple. But sometimes it's as simple as let me go there to see if this can help me. Sometimes it is as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've tried smoking drugs in the past, if you tried doing something to, you know, put your health or your life or other people at risk, then this is not any danger. You know, if you are prejudging us, if you are thinking that this is just another religious program, you know, they're talking about God, they're preaching at me, well, and you're judging everyone, you're judging, you know, every kind of church, every kind of religion as the same thing. Well, think of it like this. You went to a hairdresser's, you went to a barber shop to cut your hair. Maybe you went to that barber or hairdresser was really bad at what they did. Did you ever say to yourself, you know what, I'm never going to any barbers or any hairdressers again? You didn't judge every barber shop or hairdresser. You just found somewhere else that could cut your hair the way you wanted it. So if you are judging every church, every pastor, every minister, because you've heard, maybe not you haven't experienced for yourself, but you've just heard that place or those people were bad, then you are prejudging. That's wrong. But if you can see in us that we are, you know, genuine, we are sincere, you see the people, the guests on this program, the help that they've got, then give it a chance.
And the genuine smile, right? Because the girls here tonight that were talking about the stories, you can see that they have a genuine smile. You can see that it's not fake, right? It's something that there has been a transformation in their lives, and they're here to say, listen, this happened to me, and I'm here exposing personal things about my past because I believe that maybe my story can inspire you also to believe that things can change. I want to invite you now for you to prepare a glass with water. And let me tell you what we're going to do. Perhaps you have struggled in the past with facing your problems by yourself and not being able to take the pressure. Perhaps the pressure has been too much for you. And you don't know where to draw strength from. You don't know where you can go to feel better, stronger, to go out and deal with your problems. But I believe that if we unite our faith right now, the Word of God says, wherever there are 2 or 3 gathered in His name, that there He would be. You may not be together in the studio with me, but by faith we are gathered in His name. By faith we are 2, we are 3, we are many more gathered in His name. We're going to ask God right now to touch your life, to give you the strength for you to overcome the problems that perhaps you're going through right now. Prepare your glass with water. Let's talk to God.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like a prayer concerning your spiritual well-being, send your name and prayer request to prayer@findinganswers.tv.
My Lord and my Father, in the name of the Lord Jesus, we enter in your presence right now, my Lord. And it's a scary statistic we heard at the beginning of this program, that 10% of youth suffer, they struggle with self-harming. And it's even scarier to know that there could be a lot more people struggling with this and we don't even know. So my Father, I pray right now for all those that the world has forgotten. Those who, like Denise, used to feel, they feel like nobody loves them, nobody cares about them. Perhaps this person feels that if they were to die tomorrow, if they were to die right now, nobody would miss them. People who are abandoned, forgotten, perhaps even literally. And they are lifting their voice, their prayer, they cry out to you, my God, because they have nobody else to talk to, nobody else to help them, nobody else that can make them stand, that can stretch out a helping hand and tell them that they're not alone. But you can do that right now, my Lord. You can heal those inner wounds. You can give this person the strength so that they don't have to feel like they have to be hurting themselves, whether emotionally or physically. You can make this person strong in this way. You can make this person not only feel better, but be better, be stronger. I pray, my Lord, that you may do this right now. Right now, Holy Spirit. In this person's home, in this person's workplace, wherever they are watching me now. Maybe they are in a crowded place and no one is even paying attention to this prayer apart from this person. But I ask you that those who are uniting their faith with me right now, that they are touched. They are touched by you right now, my Lord. And a change can happen in their life. That today can be the beginning of this change. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I also consecrate this water. I bless it. So that when this person drinks of it, they will receive the strength that they haven't had until today. But they will have from now on. In Jesus' name. You may drink of this water now where you are. Very well, that's it. It's been a very amazing and inspirational program. We hope that you can join us again tomorrow, where we will have another inspirational story here. The question is, how many inspirational stories will you have to watch before you make a decision to fight back against your own problems? We hope that tonight has been the night where you make that decision. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful night. May God bless you.